As Logan Thomas gets more comfortable in the system, more comfortable at the tight end position, are you guys finding new ways to use him?
Well, I wouldn't say new ways to use him. What I would say is that we've been able to expound on the things that we use for him. There are some things where he's not necessarily the primary guy, or he wasn't the primary guy, but because of who he is and what he's done for us so far, you put him in that sequence and say, hey, look, if you get this, let's look here first. So I just think as he grows and continues to grow, he'll get a bigger part in the offense.
How did you feel John Bates did in yesterday's game?
I like what he did. I thought he blocked well for the most part. There was a couple where his angles could have been better. His hand placement could have been better. I like to see him continue to drive his feet. But he put himself in place to be an asset to the quarterback in certain passing situations. So, again, he's a young guy that's learning. It was good to see him get out there and get his first real shot.
I'll just go ahead and make it a tight ends day. I was going to ask about Samus Reyes, if you could update us on both how he did last night and his development overall.
Oh, I think he's developing very well. He really is. It was a little unfortunate. He had the sore leg, missed a few days, but he's back. He's been working. Coach Pete's been on him, pushing him, and we saw the results yesterday of what he can grow into. He blocked well. Really liked him in certain situations blocking. He might be our most physical tight end. He might be. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but some of the things that I saw really kind of pointed to that. I'd like to see him catch the ball a little bit cleaner. But again, those were his first two catches in the NFL, and it was really cool. It really was. It was a lot of fun to watch Samus get his opportunity and make the best of it. He did some nice things. He really did.
And I know preseason success is measured by not having injuries. Did you escape without any major injuries?
Yes, for the most part, we did. We came out of it pretty doggone well. I have not sat down with RV since last night. When I sat down with him, he told me, as of right now, Coach, we are doing really well. So I will check in with him after I talk to you guys. That way I don't have to really answer this question because I won't know the answer to it. But I'll find out. But he was very optimistic after the game. He really was. So we'll see how everybody is. And if anything major changes, we'll let you guys know. But from what I understand, there really weren't.
Ron, when the presser got moved back, we thought it was so you could talk to RV and then give us the update. But
that ain't happening, guys. Trust me. It's the less I know about injuries, the less you'll get to know.
Return game is obviously something you guys are watching. I thought DeAndre Carter looked pretty good last night. Danny Johnson's returning the kicks. Seemed like maybe he was forcing one. Were you challenging those guys to really show you something in the return game?
We have been, and last night it was about their better judgment because you don't want to force a guy to do anything. You just want them to use their better judgment. Got a lot of trust in Danny. Did it for us last year and did it very well. Very excited with what DeAndre Carter did show us. Excited about what Dax Millen did. He's a solid young football player, Dax, and he's a guy that's caught our attention. DeAndre's done a nice job for us as well. So we have a good combination of guys. We want to see Jared Patterson get a couple of tries as well. Steven Sims. I mean, we are in position right now that I think we're going to find a couple of really good returners for us as we go into this season.
And then Sadiq Charles, I believe, led all the offensive linemen in snaps. In some ways, it's kind of like a rookie year for Sadiq. How do you think he fared last night?
I think he fared very well. He really did. It's funny. Sometimes in practices, sometimes in one-on-one drills, guys just don't flash as much as you would like them to. Sadiq has been a little bit of that. He's flashed and he's shown us what he can do, and then other days he's had bad days. But last night, I can say he for the most part, I would say probably 4 out of every 5 snaps, you were very, very pleased. And then every now and then something came up that I would sit there and go, oh, come on, move your feet, or hey, better hand placement. So very pleased with his progress. I mean, the coaches have done a really nice job. His teammates have been working with him, and he's practicing pretty doggone well too. So I was happy to see what Sadiq did.
Thank you.
Sticking with young offensive linemen, you mentioned liking what Sam Cosmi did last night. I wonder what stood out to you maybe when you were able to go back and look at that today.
The biggest thing I really liked about how he played was really his hand placement and foot movement. You know, it's really important you get your hands where you need to have them. Even more so important to me that your footwork is good and it's proper. You know, he's done a nice job. He communicates very well with the guards. He really does. You watch him, and you see him with Brandon Scherf. You see him with Wes Schweitzer. You know, on his left side. And you see that synergy that you're looking for with those guys. So you can feel really confident, comfortable that he's going to get the job done.
And you mentioned last night Jamin and Ben and him needing to play. I wonder, is it typical for you to have this many rookies preparing for what could be sizable roles? Is that like, you know, a normal size group, I guess, of you know, draft picks right away?
I'll say I've been fortunate in my coaching career that I believe every year as a head coach, we have started at least one, maybe two rookies a game. I know in Carolina, you know, my first few years, that was a definite. You know, we had 3 or 4 guys. And so to me, you know, it's kind of what we've always thought, that you have a group of young guys that you draft. You want to make sure they're ready to contribute. You know, and this is a really good class, and we're pretty excited about what we've seen so far. Is it pretty typically? I'd say for the most part, it's kind of commonplace.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, you said during camp that like one of the benefits of the preseason game is seeing how some players do when the lights turn on. I'm just wondering if there was a couple guys that stood out to you specifically for that reason, maybe showed something under that, or maybe didn't relative to what you see in camp.
You know, it was interesting. It's one of those things that took a little bit to progress throughout the game, but then I saw it with Steven Montez. And it's interesting because we were on the sideline talking about it. And when we were going hurry up, when we were going no huddle, and it really wasn't a 2-minute drill when they scored the touchdown as much as it was just, you know, up tempo, he really seemed to just relax and feel much more at home. So it was something we talked about on the sideline, myself and Scott and Kenny Zampese, that you know, maybe that's the thing that we need to look at for him. That was pretty cool. You know, watching Samus Reyes, it wasn't too big for him. You know, that was good to see. David Bada is you know, our other international player. It wasn't too big for him, so that was good to see. Guys that got their first real opportunities just kind of stepped up to the plate. I didn't think it was too big for Jamin. I didn't think it was too big for Sam. I didn't think it was too big for Benjamin, or John Bates for that matter. It just, they seemed to really just take it in stride. So that was really cool to see. It really was. So I think we got to look at the guys the way I hope we were. I was pretty pleased with it. It was a good start. It is. And now we've got to build on it. We can't take a step backwards with those young guys. We've got to keep going forward. And you know, and I don't want to forget him either, but I thought Jared Patterson did a nice job. Dax Milnes was really solid. I think the 2 young defensive ends, both BK and Shaka, you know, got their opportunities and rose to it as well.
And since you just mentioned the defensive ends, I'll just go there. So because you have several defensive linemen out for a variety of reasons, that you got those guys did get to get more reps. What did you see with Shaka Toney, William Bradley King in this game going up in real action?
We got to work on their conditioning a little bit. It's one of those things that sometimes young players get really hyped up and they look gas initially. And I've seen it happen before. Young guys get so excited, especially defensive players for whatever reason. And those first few plays, they go all out and just put everything on the line way too early. And you could see it, but they didn't want to come out, which was good. But when we rotated them out, they came to the sideline, had the hands on the hips, and it's just something they got to learn how to play the game, so that you know, they can keep their intensity level up for those snaps that they're in. I thought they handled it well. I thought they were physical at the point. I thought Shaka did a couple really nice things coming down the line, making plays. I thought BK did a good job getting vertical in his rush. They're a good mix of young players, and we think they have a chance to help.
Hey, Ron, going back to Cosme, and you talk about the communication, it looked like he handled the stunts pretty well. Is that what you're talking
Yep.
about? And is that like what allows a young guy to handle that well? You know, does he communicate better than some other young linemen you've been around?
Well, part of it is first knowing what your assignment is, and then two, knowing what your options are on that play based on what the calls are, and then three, being able to communicate it and listen as well from what your blocking buddy tells you. You know, we have a couple of protections that, you know, they got to communicate and they got to be able to pass, you know, rushers off. We got a couple of running plays where they're gonna double up and push, and then they're gonna come off, and they have to be in good position and good feel in terms of understanding which guy should come up and work to the next level. That's what you've got to see when you start working with young guys. It's just how well do they communicate with the guy next to them.
And then going back to Jamin, you've talked about putting a lot on his plate.
Yep.
So when you're measuring his progress, you know, are there times yesterday where you can see him maybe over or thinking too much? And,
Yep.
you know, so how do you measure his progress in just, you know, the results of the play and the overall play?
When you can tell he's not thinking and just reacting. You know, as we watch it, you're right. You do see him because he may get some action and the action's going this way and he's taking a step over here. You're wondering, well, what's holding him to stay there? Is he overthinking that he knows he's got this backside cutback, but the play's going front side and he's already thinking about that too soon? That play goes that way. It's natural. I take my step, I work it. If he does cut back, then I plant, redirect, and get myself into another direction. And that stuff will come second nature the more he practices. You know, we talked about it last year with some of our guys. It's 5,000 reps. It's going to take a while to build up this field, this second nature for what's happening, what's going on the field.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, I was curious with Dustin Hopkins and watching the film, was it as simple as him just missing? Was it something with the snap? Like what did you kind of identify?
Well, it's not necessarily simple when he misses. There's more to it. And again, we've got to look at the whole operation. And it's about having a rhythm and timing between the snapper, the holder, and the kicker. You know, part of it is the trigger. You know, when the holder, you know, triggers for the ball and the ball's snapped, you know, that operation is key. And then the placement. And as you look at it, you get a chance, take a look at the timing, and you can tell right now they don't have the rhythm. Their timing is off, and it's something we got to continue to work with. And we're kind of, you know, we're looking at it really closely right now and talking with Nate, and we'll work it. We'll continue to get it going. And again, that's what the preseason is for, so that we can, you know, work and develop and get the rhythm and get the timing down. We have, you know, a couple more games left to go, obviously. And by the time we finish up, we want to make sure that's going well for us.
Yeah. How did you think Cameron Cheeseman did? Because you mentioned the other day with the pepper snap kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought he snapped the ball pretty well. Again, it's working the timing and the rhythm between the three of them. And you know, he shoots a hard ball back there. He really does. And you know, it's a little bit about getting that feel a little bit better between he and Tress. So we'll continue to work it.
Thank you.
You've brought up that 5,000 reps number for other positions. Does that carry over into the specialist? Do you think you have enough time between now and September 12th to correct this issue?
Well, what do we got? 20 days. So they would have to have, 2,500 a day? No, 250 a day. So we'll see if we can get that done.
And as for Landon Collins, what did you make of him just watching him on film? Did he look fresh and carry over that kind of spry performance in camp onto the field?
I thought he did some nice things. He did, you know, and again, as we looked and evaluated the rotations, you know, we saw some things that we really liked, and we saw some things that we got to continue to work on. And I think there were some communication things for everybody out there that's important. And we'll continue to work our groups and our rotations.
Hey, Ron, with Chase obviously gets the big sack there on Cam. I'm curious, you know, it looked like just from what I saw, he used his hands to get to the inside shoulder of the left tackle to really jolt him back and get around him. What little ways has he improved in terms of his pass rush techniques from year 1 to year 2 that you've seen? In which ways maybe does he still have to go as he continues to evolve?
Well, again, I think it's about having a plan more so than anything else, and just not relying on your tremendous athletic ability. Secondly, is as he's developing that repertoire, he has to have a good feel for setting up one to complement the other. These are all things that as he gets more and more experience, becomes more of a veteran player, will come even more natural. And that's one of the tough things when you get these really good players coming from college football to the NFL. Their initial is I've always been better than everybody. Then as they catch up to this league and these guys are just as good in a lot of cases, now it really becomes where you've got to be able to rely on what your repertoire is of pass moves and what your counters are, how quickly your counters come. And that's one of the things that when you watch him and the work he's had with our tackles this year has been tremendous. With Sam and Charles and Sadiq and Cornelius. I mean, those guys are all NFL quality tackles, and he and Sweat and the rest of the DNs have had an opportunity to really work against those guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, kind of following up about Chase, what is the degree of difficulty to understand when to make certain moves? You talked about how he needs to sometimes understand the situation and like when to get up the field versus to get into some of his moves. What's the degree of difficulty assessing, this is what I need to do very quickly here? And also kind of talking a little bit about his run, his run protection as well too. I think he had that he got held and it forced that play to go back, but just the mental toughness it takes to kind of make those assessments very quickly in a short time frame.
I think he does it very well. The things that he has to take into obviously has everything to do with, what's their personnel grouping, what's the situation, obviously the down and distance, and understanding that, and then am I going to get a 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop? Are we bringing 4? Is there a stunt going on somewhere? Do I have the 3 technique next to me? I mean, he has to take in a lot of information prior to the snap, and a lot of that will determine, like, if he has a 3 technique to him, he's more than likely not going to do an up and under, or he's not going to attack inside to work out because he can't afford to run into the 3 technique. Now 3 technique, I have the nose next to me. Now it opens up the potential for an inside move. So those things he looks at, he assesses, and it helps determine exactly what he's going to do. And then from that point, I think his instincts will take over. If a guy oversets me and opens the inside, do I take it? If he tries to short set me on a quick throw, do I just try to work off and get my hands up and knock the ball down? I mean, there's a lot for him to develop. And again, we talked about it, just it's all about reps. The more practice, the more work he gets, the better.
And then this is just very quickly, I know that you kind of talked about Steven Montez, like not sometimes just making the play that's out there versus making the spectacular play. This is more going towards Daron Payne. Like he had a chance to fall in the fumble in the preseason game, and 2 opportunities. Against some of the competition you guys will have this year, those missed opportunities may come back to bite. So what do you say to guys? Because obviously there'll be those chances where you can pick up the ball, but with some of the teams that you guys would play, having those missed opportunities could be kind of fatal. What do you guys say to them about when to make that spectacular play versus sometimes just to do the easy thing and fall on it?
Well, getting takeaway is something we work on daily, whether it's stripping the ball, whether it's picking up the ball, whether it's intercepting the ball. And we stress, especially with when you're trying to scoop and score or pick up a fumble or recover a fumble, we call it city and country. If you're in the city and it's crowded, there's a lot of bodies around it, just fall on it. If you're out in the country, out in space, and the ball's bouncing around, there's not a lot of people. We want you to try and scoop and score. So it's something we work about. It's something we talk about. And here the coaches talked about it on the field. In fact, when they got to the sidelines, a couple of the D linemen were kind of harping on Daron that they were saying, buddy, man, you were in the city, man. You got to fall on that. And it's just way too crowded. You were in the subway. They kind of got on just trying to get him to relate that, dude. You've got to be smart about it and understand. And, it's hard because they want to make great plays. They really do, which is good. You want them to make great plays, but you also want them to understand there's a time and a place and a feel for it.
Charlotte, last one.
Thank you, Ron.
Hey there, Ron. You've been talking a lot about how impressed you are with the rookies and how they did last night, but did anybody surprise you? I know you don't really get a lot of surprises, but did anyone step out there and you just thought, all right, didn't expect that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I felt confident about what we've done as far as the practices, the way the guys have worked. There were a lot of good things to go back and look at and feel good about. But I'm going to say no, not necessarily. If there was one thing I was disappointed was we didn't put more points on the board, especially because I thought we moved the ball well. That's something that I'll look back at. There were a couple things defensively. I thought, and forget the 91-yard or 92-yard run. I know it's hard to, but our run defense was pretty stout for the most part and had some really good moments. And so, having said that, when you look at that, I mean, that's what you want from your run defense. So there were some things that that we can shore up, but there are also some things that we feel good about. So, to be honest with you, Charlotte, I kind of expected this. I was kind of hoping for something like this, and we got it. So I was pretty pleased with it. Now the important thing is, do we come back and we do, are we consistent again? You guys asked me, what did I want out of this? I wanted some consistency. I thought we were pretty consistent, especially with the ones and the twos. There's some things that we got to work on with the threes and we got to get better at. But I do think, and I do believe we took a good step. Now let's don't take one backwards.